Oranga Tamariki says it's standing by its decision to return a 4-year-old boy who had suffered severe injuries in June to his immediate family in Flaxmere, despite some whānau saying they opposed it. The boy went on to be severely injured a second time in January and remains in Starship Children's Hospital. Police say they haven't been able to work out how the 4-year-old suffered his extensive injuries, including severe brain damage at his house. It's understood the boy was returned to the household in which he was injured in June last year without wide consultation with whānau, some of who opposed his return. Māni Dunlop has been covering the case and joins me now. Kia ora, Māni, what do we know?
Kia ora. Well, as you've just said, we know that he endured some injuries in June last year. He was then placed with his grandmother in Auckland. She fought to have him stay with her. That was before Christmas, and then obviously have a rethink after Christmas. OT apparently decided against that, and he returned to Flaxmere, where he has been put back into this dangerous situation. We understand that other than the grandmother, there was also strong opposition from other whānau members. And they didn't feel that there was wide enough consultation with them to make that decision.
So what has Oranga Tamariki said about that and the process that they used?
Well, obviously they've been quite limited in their comments until this afternoon. They sent a brief statement. And obviously they can't say much because of privacy reasons and to acknowledge the ongoing investigation. But in that statement, they said they followed extensive work with the family over many months. Oranga Tamariki said that they were satisfied. There were sufficient supports from wider whānau and professionals for the boy to be at home. And by then, they say that the family had actively engaged in a range of services. I spoke to a whānau advocate, Desratima Matua, in Hawke's Bay, and he said that they paint a different picture, that they weren't given that opportunity. Until now, we weren't too sure of Oranga Tamariki's role. And Desratima was concerned about the silence and the authorities being quite tight-lipped about this, which meant it lumped a lot of responsibility onto the whānau. He's calling for them to accept some accountability for what happened or for what happened in the lead-up to this outcome. But he was clear in not absolving responsibility of who did this to the young boy. This obviously, when a child is hurt to this extent, it's going to invoke a very passionate reaction, and that's what's happened in Pāharakeke, in Flaxmere, and around Aotearoa. But also, what it does highlight, Desratima was on the ground when the baby was. The attempted uplift of that baby in the Hawke's Bay Hospital last year, which prompted that other public outcry, which prompted 5 reviews, one of which was internal from Oranga Tamariki. The findings of that was released late last year. In that, they made a raft of recommendations, stricter rules as to how social workers can uplift those babies. There were people who lost their jobs over this. However, Desratima met with OT earlier this week, and he believes that not much has changed since the internal review has come out, and that those changes aren't trickling down to the social workers on the ground that are actually engaging and working with these whānau. Also important to note the Māori-led review that was released in earlier this month, in that they were calling for an overhaul of Oranga Tamariki. The For Māori, by Māori tagline, which we hear so often, painting a bigger picture, it talks about devolving the power to iwi Māori in order for iwi to take control. And, speaking to Māori leaders, they think that we have the answers, Māori have the answers in order to better serve our whānau and tamariki. And so obviously we've got the Office of the Children's Commissioner report coming out. So again, this horrific case is highlighting a wider issue.
Appreciate you joining us. That is Māni Dunlop, who's been covering the case of the young boy, 4-year-old boy, who was severely injured in Flaxmere and remains in Starship Hospital.